1, 0. Okay, let me go into the studio mode, producer mode. I love these shows where they've got like 3 or 4 people supporting the situation. I was talking to Morgan about that last night.
3 is a good number.
Yeah, 3 would be good. 3 would be a good one. Well, she is kind of the producer, but I mean, like they have these producers in the room, in the studio, like Joe Rogan and those guys.
Wow.
Which actually gives you a lot more. Okay, we do have sound, evidently. Hello, Amira Beth. Producer mode. Hello, Jenny Williams. I love these shows where they've got like 3 or 4 people supporting. Oh, here we go. Hello, Cheryl Woocher, Shannon McMillan Thompson, Laurel Gale. Laurel Gale is in Tasmania. I didn't know that.
Cool.
She must be friends with Ivania. Brenda Harding, Charlene Wall, Heather Eliopoulos, and Yvette Quiros. I'm so bad at messing up some of these names. Heather says you look beautiful. I know she's not talking about me.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, we got 18 people in the house. We're gonna have the next hours should be very powerful and exciting.
Very.
If these shows resonate with you, please share. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Todd Medina. This is SoulSpeaks 5D. We're part of the Soulogy.One network, looking to continue to add frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration in our own little corner of the universe that is a mirror of the universe, the same energy that we all share. We just call it Soulogy here. And hello, Angel Divine. So today we have a special guest, Divine Feminine, on this glorious day, International Women's Day.
Great day.
Yes, it is. There are no coincidences. She's out of Canada. Her name is Susan Marie.
Yeah.
She's lived a life of immense spiritual growth, acceptance, expansion, and illumination. Her bio stills the thunder. My favorite question, when did you wake up? Because she says at the age of 17, she became aware that she was to be a part of the healing of humanity. And goes on to have a very extensive and informative bio that you're all welcome to read whenever you get the chance, whether you're here on the live or coming in on the replay. So let me just say, let me roll the show out formally and say, Susan, thank you for joining us today, sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence on this wonderful day where we're saluting and honoring and reverence all the divine feminine on the planet. Welcome.
Thank you, Todd. It's a pleasure to meet you finally. I've been following you and others for many years, and so it's lovely to partake in coming together. It's beautiful. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for coming. This is a platform for those like you, especially this year. You said you've been on radio one time in 2013. I think this is the year when many of your sisters, primarily, I mean, all physical incarnations, but this is the year that the goddess energy is stepping forward and being heard. I mean, you guys have been doing the work for a long time. Many of you for many years without any notoriety at all, and that is a tough trip. So,
yeah, the hidden ones.
Right? Yeah, no longer hidden.
No.
So you had an inkling that you were different at 17, that something was going on that everyone else might not be around you, might not be seeing, observing?
I think even on the bio, and of course we're throwing our bios out now, right? We're throwing all our stories away. But my journey to the earth, I came at the age of 8. I was aware of what we call God. I was aware of presence, and I was raised in the Catholic Church. And so to me, the scripture, God was my hedge of protection, I took literally as a child. And so there was a neighbor that had a hedge up around the block. And I would hear in my heart, come to the hedge and talk to me. So I began that sort of open knowing that there was something from the age of 8. At the age of 17 is when I said yes to who I was. And at that time, I became aware inside myself that I was here for a reason. And what I was told was that my role would be to call forth that which dwells within humanity, edify, equip, encourage, and release them to be what they were created to be. And yeah, as you can imagine back then, and that was some years ago,
What's that,
you know,
like
40
12 years
some odd
ago?
years ago.
Like you're 29,
Right?
right? 12 years ago.
Oh, I love that. I love the DNA changes, right? So
Yeah, right.
I just turned 59 this year, and so at 17, I didn't know what that meant, and also living in a world where people lived in fear, constant fear, and of course we lived in a system of control. So trying to express what I felt inside myself at 17, and wondering why everybody else wanted to define what I knew to be true, and label me as being weird or odd or a freak, basically, created a lot of turmoil within me as a person. And I know that I'm speaking to others that have had this same journey. And so it was a yo-yo of accepting and rejecting myself, many years of experiences, many hardships, and also a huge denial of what I knew to be true entered in. And so of late, for many of us, we are returning to what we've always known within us, and the letting go of all of the ways with which we've denied what we've always known. It's a time to be seen. It's like I don't have to hide anymore.
That's right. It's time to come out and play.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, it is important because so many people, so, you know, a lot of practitioners have been coming on since the first of the year, and they've been saying many people are waking up and they're like, what's going on here? You know? So it is important because the stories well, yeah, the pattern is the same.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about an early time, though. You're talking about late 70s, early 80s. I can't even imagine at that, because I'm 57. I can't even imagine at that time. And I did have that intel. I knew, and I had some divine episodes go on.
Yeah.
And I was raised Catholic. I didn't stay very long, but I always had that. You know, that connection. And but I can't even imagine carrying that or beginning to carry out consciously my mission at 17, 19, 20, and 1980. You know, God, that's like a past life. That's like 10 lives ago. But one of the things that seems to have happened to many people, and it's very obvious, you know, over the last few years on social media, is when they do wake up, one of the first things you hear out of their mouth is, why isn't anybody listening to me?
Yeah, exactly.
So I totally get, and I think the people that tune in that are just starting to wake up can totally relate to the fact that they are well, that they're not like everybody else in their circle, right? And what you had said about, you know, being so different that it challenges your sanity, and a lot of people can relate to that. But on the other hand, when you came out, when this started happening, did you start telling people, hey, this is what's happening?
I did. I was one of these ones that I thought that everybody was like me. And so, well, why don't you know what I know? Why don't you feel what I feel? And for me, at a very young age, at 17, if someone would approach me, I would feel, I know what the terminology is now, but I would feel their vibration or their essence. And although their mouth might move and say one thing, I would hear the truth because their spirit, their essence would communicate with me. And then I would take it personally because I didn't understand that the spirit was telling me truth. Their ego, their mind, the personality was creating a story. And oftentimes, and I understand this now, when you hold the light in such a pure form within yourself, people will react to you. And oftentimes they don't even know why. And they would also accuse me of saying something, and yet I hadn't uttered a word. And I came to realize over the years that my spirit, the truth of who I am, is in constant communication with the truth of who they are. And their mind is listening to that within, and they think I've said something to them. And
you know, that's a good point. You know, it really is a good point. And I'm just reflecting on my own situation, but I remember that happening in my teens, particularly with certain family members. But I also remember it happening quite a bit, especially over the last 7 years since I've been awake. When you said that you took it personal, what did you mean by that? Because that might be something also that could help people who are just waking up. You're hearing the human, and you're also hearing what? The higher self. But what do you mean by you took it personal?
I heard both at the same time. So you can imagine hearing somebody speaking, moving their lips, and feeling the hit of their words, feeling the judgment or the anger or the intensity of their fear-based feelings coming towards me, being a sensory being, and then hearing the truth behind what they were actually saying. You have to understand, we've been living in what we have thought is the human condition for most of our lives. Yeah. And so we have not had a clear understanding of how to navigate it. Now, we've had many teachers that have come onto the earth. And for me personally, my great teacher is Yeshua, Jesus, known as the Christ. And he said to me that most people do not know that which they are. And so they're feeling what is in me, and they want to attack what is in me because they're living in a fear-based system. And when you don't know who you are, and this is true whether you are walking in the flesh unaware of what you are truly, you're living life trying to be seen over and over and over again. And we express ourselves through ways of attacking each other, competing with each other. I think I posted about that today, that we have used our bodies, we've hated our bodies, we've fought each other's bodies, and we think we're this physicality. And so that over the years, I was rejected by many people in my life. And they didn't understand me, and I couldn't understand why they couldn't see the love that I have for them. And so I took it as a wounding, and I always felt hurt, and a deep, deep sadness came unto me. And I always felt like I wasn't home, that I had no family, and I didn't understand that. And so in a human perspective, walking that out, it put me into years of therapy and counseling, trying to fix myself, lots of self-help books. We went through the age of self-help. And when I came into the place of fully accepting who I was, the first thing I heard within was, take every one of those self-help books and take it to the garbage, destroy them. And I thought, well, that's a lot of money in those books. I should donate them to someone who could help them. And what I heard back within was that, why would you continue to perpetuate suffering in another where they deny that which they are and attack the very essence of who they are? And so I destroyed the books and realized in conversations with the guidance that I was having that over the years, and I'm sure this is true for many that have not understood why they're different and have tried to be normal in the world, I was told that I was healing the wrong version of me. I was healing Susan 3.0, Susan 3D, Susan who thinks herself as in the physical personality and expression in the earth and having the human experience, when in actuality, I needed to restore Susan 5.0, which is that which I truly am. And when I restored that one, then the other one would be bridged or braided into that which I truly am, which is what's happening right now for all of the people of light on the earth right now that are stepping into accepting that they are more than the physical flesh that they see before them.
Yeah. And these are good points you're bringing up too, again, for people that are waking up. And I will say that for those who might, these labels, I mean, they're leaving too, right? The stories are leaving, but the way shower, and in your case, the way shower's way shower, or the one who woke up early, who realized that she was a goddess with amnesia much earlier than so many of us. But you're right. So there was a for so many people like you, there was such a challenge because you didn't fit, and you tried to fit, and you tried to be that 3D while you're walking around as a face. That's almost like a schizophrenia. And the good news is that those who are waking up now have a community.
Yes.
They have a community, because I've talked to so many people and they're like, late 90s, early 2000, they're like, oh my God, you know, it took till like 2012, 2013 before this stuff really started to expand. So,
Yeah.
so big props for doing the yeoman's work on behalf of humanity, because that to me, the literal beingness, the experiential, you know, the living, the presence of the story, actually that energetic power, whether you went and healed anyone, whether you went and taught anyone, or spoke to anyone or whatever, that actually carried the most power. And the energetic imprint itself, you know, is, as you know, endless. So
it was a training. It was a training ground, a practice of accepting, allowing, I should say, the flow to come through me and seeing what happens. And so I say I'm in a constant state of awe, because I have no attachment to what happens. But to me, when I see someone come before me that does not know, has never felt that which dwells within, that energetic signature of who they are, and they've realized it for the first time, and it floods every cell of their body, and they feel that they no longer can feel their body, and they're feeling this expansiveness of who they are. Yeah. It's like giving birth to me and expanding the light on the earth for every person that accepts that within themselves. And this is what I understand to be transcendence. So we are separating ourselves with the presence of what we are, and taking what we have created, this physical body, with us into the light as one. And even the separation within ourself is ceasing now. So we're unifying as one. And as we unify with one, and for me, it took being on my face with a personal crisis that had me completely come to the end of everything that I trusted within myself, every person. I was in extreme debt. I'd lost someone that I loved, and substantial losses. They called it a cluster event to put me on my face, to force me to remember who I was, and strip away everything I relied upon, and to be left with what was actually the only thing that mattered. Yeah,
the only thing you came in with.
That's right. That's right.
That's a big ditto. You know, for myself and some of the other, those successive traumas. Yeah. So many people talk about.
They're so
and I shouldn't say that they didn't wake up, because they say, you know, I can say it. You know, so many people, they say, well, I knew something was going on, and then I went to sleep. You know, then I went into my 20s and had the family and the job and 3D'd it, right? But yeah, that hammering, that machine gun hammering of traumas. Yeah, a lot of people ended up like that. Now you talk about Yeshua, the consciousness of Yeshua, the energy of Yeshua. What faces of the universe do you connect with, or have you connected with on your journey? Because you may not connect with some that you did way back when. Is it angelic, galactic, divine essences, elementals?
It's all. It's all. When I asked, the response, like, of course, I've seen Christ in the physical my whole life. He's shown up, and so for me, he's as real as you are across from me. He materialized in front of me and taught me many things. But who I know that I connect with is all. Every aspect of everything that's ever been created. There is no one or group anymore. It's just the all. Just the all. But, and you know, where you had said earlier, we have been through rituals not only within the church and government and societal structures our whole life, but we've also created them in coming away from some of those structures in the New Age movement, and in what we call the ascension process, or the activation process. And what I believe that I'm here to say to everyone is that you are already complete.
Yeah.
You have everything that you need. The ascension process is not the arising to, it is the stripping away of all the things that have taken you out of the awareness that you are more than you even know.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I see it like you're laying in bed with about 10 blankets on you, you know, and you want to get out of bed. and you got to take each blanket off, and then there is no rise to it, right?
Well,
I mean, it's just
it
but I
just
love what
is.
you say.
Yeah.
I really wholeheartedly agree with you, especially now, especially since about the solstice, the winter solstice, or maybe
December
11/11. Yeah,
Dec
or even January 1, 2019. There has been a marked, obvious, palpable elevation and expansion. And I think it's, I wrote a post yesterday. Yeah, we can let go of the stories now. You know, it's time to live in love. And I mean, in other words, we got it. Okay, we got it.
The season's over. I mean, we came in knowing that we would have these experiences for a season, and we've been griping about it ever since. And then we denied that, well, maybe it's not true. And now, you know, the evidence is there. We're seeing the changes within ourselves. And as we remember and as we accept that we are that, now we get to play. We get to create. And, you know, we've been in these physical bodies that we have defined as struggle. And what I have known in the work that I do with people, many have come to me with physical illness and mental and spiritual illness, I call it. And I show them what they truly are and then teach them who they are and how to stay there. And the way to access it is through the breath. We are the living breath. We are the light. We are omnipresent. We are infinite, boundless, timeless energies that are not bound by any form that we take. And our form that we created that housed this energy, we created it. They really want us to hear that.
Yes.
And that we have been servants within our own creations. And we need to come back into the place of sovereignty as one with our creations.
Yeah.
And we have also come into collective creations with each other. And, you know, all of the things that we have created must collapse. They must collapse.
Yeah.
And we get to rewrite. We get to recreate.
Yeah, I agree. It's like music to my ears. And this is exactly what, and it's not just me, but I'm lucky because I sit in this chair 3-4 times a day. And for me, this is the year of sovereignty.
It's fun.
This is the year of co-creation, collaboration. This is the year when we can say, okay, these things served us. And I love what you said about the ritual thing. Yeah. You know, because I love to go out and I haven't had a history of it by myself, and I'll be walking. Okay, I'm going to do something here. It just happens. That to me is, I don't know what that is. It's like, what, a channel or a conduit, some kind of activation. But your point is that these things that served us to get us to this point, we don't even need them anymore, right? And I don't mean to diminish anything, right? No.
No beating ourselves up for what we created, not knowing that we were the creators that created it, and blaming each other and blaming God. You know, there's, you know, forgive them for they know not what they do. You know, that's really what it means, is that, you know, I did not know that I was creating these things from a place of power. So it was not created in its fullness of power. Mm-hmm. We're entering into creating from the fullness of what we are, and from a place of absolute unconditional love. Now, unconditional love, even man has altered the meaning of that. Unconditional love is a frequency. It's a vibration. And as we enter into that frequency, we already created everything that we wanted. It's already waiting for us. So I call it following the rabbit trail. I think I'm going this way, and next thing I know, I'm told to go this way, and I go that way, and I'm bumping into the things that I always wanted. And so, you know, we have the free will. We can go left or right, but if we follow that internal guidance system, which is the all leading us to our greatest desires, then we enter into this freedom, like a child, to just playfully free fall into the unknown and watch what shows up. And it's frightening for people because you can't free fall if you're in fear. You got to completely let go into the unknown known. And it's the unknown known because the truth of who we are already knows what's waiting for us.
Yeah. And it's a little tricky for the human because it's a little frightening. Yeah. Because you start to, I've been saying for a few months that if it doesn't make sense, do it. If you hear it, it's like, go over here, go to Sedona, go to Kauai. I'm like, how am I going to go? Just go.
And we measure, we even measure those things by, Todd, what do you think about me if I'm going to make this decision? But within, I'm hearing, an example would be, I had this townhome. I was in it for 14 months. I couldn't seem to settle. Couldn't feel settled in this place. And then I heard, paint it, you'll feel better. So I painted it from top to bottom. And as soon as I finished it, I felt like I was at home in my home. And then I heard, now sell it. Well, it doesn't make sense to do that. Yeah. And yet when I did that, I am abundance. And when I enter into the river, that abundance is who I am. I open up the gateway for that to come in. And in that moment, I had 5 competing offers on my home and 189,000 of profit made in one day after listing it on the market. So our provision is there and waiting for us if we just do what we're guided to do, even if it makes no sense to us. And even if we're judged by others around us that say, there's something wrong with you, why are you doing that? Do it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I was saying too. Because what happens is when you start listening and heeding that, in this time, and it's gotten easier because so many people are experiencing it. It doesn't make sense. So, but you do it, and then what's not frightening. I would say hard to get used to.
It's a stretching.
You turn that corner, and you go, okay, I'm going to do this. It doesn't make sense. I don't have to listen to these people, and you learn not to tell them anything too. and you go through the door around the corner, and all of a sudden you get hit with this big pie of abundance. Yes. And then it happens again and again. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Is this really happening? You're like poking yourself. Am I really here? Is this really going on? But it's slowly but surely building up. I'm evidence of it. You're evidence of it. Many, many people are doing this. And you're right. It only works. It only works if you step through those fears, if you step away from your human 3D comfort zone. If you listen to yourself, really.
And I call it, you got to play. So I heard within me, and all the guidance comes within us. When we accept who we are, it comes here. So I don't need you. You don't need me. We have it all. And what I am saying, everyone has already heard within. They just didn't recognize it. Because I am you and you are me and we're one and we're all in this together. So as you begin to experiment with what we've created, I think I relate it to the Truman story. He woke up in the dream and realized there was something more. So everything that we've been living, we dreamed into being. And so the guides have said, we're at a time where we can rewrite things. So think of a videotape. You watch a movie back in the 80s, you could press rewind and watch it over and over again. And many people rewind their past and watch it over and over again. And there's no solution there. So you can rewind the movie of your life to a point where you feel there was maybe a crisis, a trauma, whatever. And then you can re-record the story of your life from that point forward and watch it come to fruition. Things will materialize. And what actually happened to me, and I'm going to step out on a limb here and I'm going to share it because I heard you talking, I believe it was with Grace, about materializing and have things shown up around you. Yeah. Well, my husband passed away in 2012. I did a rewrite. I rewrote the video, the story that he didn't die. I rewrote it that he was happy and alive and well. And, we need to be really good at our rewriting because I didn't rewrite him in my life. I just rewrote him happy and well. And then I was out on a date and he showed up 3 times. I like things in 3s. It's my confirmation number. Yeah. And he showed up in 3 different locations to tell me that I must choose me now, no matter what, and no turning back. And he's waiting for me on the other side of the bridge. And we're all doing what I call the Enoch walk. We are all returning to the vibration of home so that we can step through the gateway of our homeland. And it's coming very soon. So this time of facing our stuff willingly without self-condemnation, blame, shame, or guilt. Let it come in, observe it. Ask, is there anything I need to do, change about that? Anything I've attached to that has bound me to suffering of any kind? And as you see these things, you just let it go.
Yeah.
I no longer have any need for this pain. I no longer have any need for this emotion. I have no need for this creation, and I freely let it go. And this is where we come into instantaneous restoration within our existence. And so I open up to that willingly, and I just say, show me. Yeah. I want to know what is here that I've picked up along the journey up to this point, where I've been fighting against who I am, where I've entered into believing something that isn't true about myself or about another, so that I can set myself free. And in setting myself free, because I am already free, I'm just returning to the freedom. They want me to re-clarify that. I'm returning to the freedom that I am. And as I do this, you are free.
Yeah. Yeah. Morgan has a saying, yes, please.
Yes, please. That's mine.
Rather than get, you know what I mean? It all starts coming down. Yeah. You say, yes, please. I surrender. Yes, please.
Yeah. And I still have those moments where something's coming at me, the things that are dear to us, like our children or our family, where there's a deeper sense of wounding, where we came into that unit. And, I've personally had to come to the place where I realized that they're not even mine.
Right.
And
that's the tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, and they also wanted me to speak into, a lot of people have fear of, if I step into this and I become odd or different from others, then I will be castrated or cut off or made to be feel like I'm not a part of the world anymore. It's a huge fear, because we believe that's our existence here. And I encourage people to let it go.
Yeah.
Because the world that we've created is coming to a closure, and the world that is waiting for us, we are creating with the expectation of returning to everything that we ever wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's proof of that too. Yeah. And I know I'm not the only one. And that is that in this journey, because I was going to say, when you're ostracized like that, welcome to the club, because we've all had that. We've all had to have that boldness, or we wouldn't be here in these circles. But what I've seen happening is, because there's there's elements of the same thing the whole way, right? So even in the light worker circles, you have certain percentages of this and that and this and that. It just makes sense, because that's how the universe is. The flower of life, everything is a copy. But what I'm seeing is people that have, I'll just use these terms, like attacked you or whatever, and we've learned to just keep going, don't engage. They're coming back. They're coming back. So I would imagine, in your experience, you've probably had that happen to you, more times. Yeah.
Many times. And I have to constantly remind myself that the emotions are the human experience, the human condition, and to feel it and to let it go, but also to recognize that each one of us are here, and we agreed to come in and play a role for each other.
Yeah.
And even those ones that play the roles that we consider to be wrong or evil or bad are still, everything is created in its original form of all that is. And one thing cannot be seen without the other. So one day that will all be revealed to the working that. But right now we're needing to let go of what we believe to be right and wrong.
Yeah. Now we're going to get into something that you asked me about in a minute. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. But before we do that, and again, I really, really just want to emphasize that, there are a lot of people waking up, and there are a lot of us, me included, who are still waking up. Elements. So I think it's important to go over one thing that you talked about, because it is kind of the last leg for many of us, and that's family, blood, what we call blood. I was fortunate in the way things went down for me, that part of it happened. And I'm glad it did, because I had a whole lot of other shadows I needed to work on, and I wouldn't have been able to do both. But the thing is, I see the impact of the family thing, because it's so close to home, you know, and because it has those labels and the roles, and it's so much more difficult to disengage or not engage, you know, especially with children. I've got quite a few of those. But I think that's important. I don't know if you could just add something to, how does somebody extract at a balanced vibration from your children, from your parents, you know, from your brothers and from your sisters, you know?
It truly comes down to what I said a few minutes ago. It's, what do you choose? It's the time to choose you.
Yeah.
No matter what, and no turning back. And recognizing that when you don't choose who you are maintaining the prison of relationships that you have with the other, who had come in to play the role to push you to yourself.
Yeah.
And so we have to remember that each one of us are an aspect of the Creator, helping each other to remember the truth of who you are. We agreed to this. And so, yes, I have moments where, you know, I'll get hit with that emotional hit. We're in this physical body. We have emotions. And what I have noticed is that it doesn't last as long. So I feel it fully. And then I ask for higher perspective, because we have looked at these relationships from one view, the view of our suffering, the view of fear. So in order to transcend it, we have to come to a higher viewpoint. And the only way is to go within, breathe in, and expand that which you are, and ask to see it again. And I know that when my husband died, it was such a painful event. He committed suicide, and he played that role to push me on my face to remember who I was. Now, he came back in the non-physical to tell me that this is what had occurred and why it occurred. So I was graced with the insight through an experience where it made sense to me that I was stripped of every way of being human, and all I had left was what was within me.
Yeah.
And I say to people, you know, don't wait till you hit that floor. Make the decision now, and keep making that decision over and over and over again through every situation you find yourself in. It's a choosing until you get to 0 point. Bless you.
I'm fighting a little sinus thing, but yeah, I totally, and I have a similar experience, you know, so I totally relate to that. Yeah, because, you know, and that's one of the gifts, I think, of having loved ones transition, is that that's actually a great opportunity to bridge, because as many of us know, when we woke up and started communicating with disincarnated, transition souls, because we helped them, you know, and they gave us messages and this and that. It's a great way to integrate what was not real and what is real. So now you have. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Todd, one thing that I wanted to ask you, and this is something that I ask the people that I work with: have you ever felt your own energy signature? You know, there's a lot of catchwords out there: the light, energy, you know, vibration, and sometimes, you know, we get hung up in the terminology.
I agree. I think semantics is a big block for us. I would have to answer yes. I would have to say yes. Is it something I can put my finger on in terms of like the human explanation? No. It's part light and color and vibration and wavelengths and something up here that I could, and I'm a wordsmith, I could not describe it, but I think many times from a very young age. And I think it's also a multi-face or multi-dimensional signature. You know, it's got a lot of faces to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're integrating all of that as well. But I find that many people that I work with have never known that which dwells within. They've never felt it. And so once they feel that, then the expansion begins to take place in a rapid level.
Yeah.
And so
like
if I may,
like their own God seed, is that what you mean? Like
there's what I understand. It's an energy signature. So it's a pulse or a vibration that transcends from your being. And each one of us has a different signature, and each of our signatures is important in the big picture. Yeah. And so as we come together and unite our frequencies, so much happens.
Yeah.
So much happens. And so if I may, if you're willing.
I'm willing. You know, I'm willing.
I would love to, I call it playing in the kingdom. So
playing in the kingdom. I just had this thing pipe right in, and it said, I am not complete without the universe, and the universe is not complete without me. I think that's that piece that you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's no past, and there's no future, and really there's no present. This is all we're just creating it all. But it is desired that we feel within our cellular structure what is between every cell in our structure. And this is what will lift us into the place of remembrance fully. And so I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, if you would just get into a relaxed state. And anybody that wants to join in this, all you have to do is come into an agreement that you want to have the experience, and you will. It's a free will alignment. Nothing is forced upon anybody. So if you would just breathe in for me, Todd, and just hold your breath and release. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a second, because I want to disengage you from your mind. I'm being told that your mind's getting really active. So if you just breathe in and hold it and release. And I'm going to speak to your essence, that which you truly are. I call you forth, that which is from original source creation of all that is. And I ask you to arise in this creation before me, from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. Arise in the fullness of all that you are. And breathe in. And release. Now, as we are one, I can feel you, because there is no separation by flesh. And I can feel that, there's some issues with your shoulder and your neck. You've got some tension in there. So if you just breathe in for me and release. You're going to feel some heat going down your spine and heat flooding your body as well. This is a hot energy, a diamond energy that comes in for restoring the physical body, for restoring the DNA. And I'm going to ask the Elohim and all of the beings of light, the highest order of light, to come in now around each and every person that's listening to this, and to bring them into the highest knowing within them. And I speak over you. You are boundless. You are free. You are infinite. You are timeless. All that has ever been created is you. You are free. You have always been free. Breathe in. And release. And on the out breath, feel how the energy leaves your body. And breathe in again. And release. Yeah. And Todd, I'm going to call you back into presence here, into this physical moment. And how did that feel for you?
It was good. It was good.
Awesome.
Very good. Yes. Very good.
Because as your energy signature goes out, it joins with everybody else's energy signature. And this is how we flood the earth with our vibration and bring what we seek closer to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
People get this kind of floaty sensation afterwards. It's kind of fun. Do you feel how your legs are solid like tree trunks right now?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like a deep grounding into the earth. Yeah. And this is you are of the earth. You are on the earth, but not of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, we had this happen to us a couple of weeks ago, and we were laying in bed, and the guides came and said, "I want you guys to detach from your body.
Yes, let go.
And step out like a foot, join our circle, and so on." And so one of the things that they told us was, your legs are going to feel really heavy. And they did. They were like concrete,
Yeah.
And they explained to us that this is what happens when we go to sleep at night.
That's right.
We leave our bodies, but that heaviness keeps us anchored, basically.
That's right.
And that we were actually, in that moment, Morgan and I were actually consciously experiencing it, as opposed to being in, deep dream state. So it's very similar. Very similar. But yeah. That's a strong energy. You're a able conduit.
Yeah, I supernovaed. In 1998, my heart stopped on the operating table, and I went up and had an experience and saw that I was this golden white light, like a Halley's Comet. And you come into absolute knowledge, and you communicate, but without spoken word, because we're not in form. It's just this moving light. And I was told I had to come back. And so I came back into the physical, which is what I think they have termed a walk-in 98. And 2.5 years ago, maybe getting closer to 3 years now, I supernovaed. I was sitting at my computer and I burst into light, this golden white light that I'd seen in 98. And I was aware of what was around me in the room, but I couldn't feel my physical body. The light caused my body to separate. Mm-hmm. And yet I found myself in this noisy auditorium at the same time, with a whole bunch of whooping and carrying on and laughing. And I didn't know what was happening to me at that time. I asked a friend of mine if she could come and help me to find out what was going on. And she couldn't approach my energy. And so she said she went through the council, and I was standing there in the physical, and that I was told that my spirit was a renegade, and decided to make the leap without my consent, and took my physical body with me, with it to that realm. And I was told that I could stay there, that I had completed what I came here to do on the earth, greater than they had anticipated, and I could come home now. And I didn't know what that meant, because you're still very much aware of the human aspect while you're in that state. And all I wanted to know was, would my children find a body? Because I wanted to stay. I really did. And they said that it would look like I self-combusted in the chair if I stayed. And I didn't want to do that. But I also, being on the earth has had its moments of intense hardship and struggle. And I said, if I come back, I want it to be fun. And so they said it will be. And so in coming back, what has happened, they've told me, is I've created an energetic bridge for people to make that leap. And so the energy signature that I come back with is for that purpose, is to help support people to make that bridge home.
Yeah.
And since that has occurred, is when I guess I've been seeing what the world would call miracles, which to me, I don't see it as a miracle. I see it as returning to truth, because where truth is, there's no suffering.
It's the magic.
Yeah, it's fun.
Hashtag follow the fairy tale.
Right? But the biggest hazard for people is the monkey mind.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like you said, I mean, you know, and I think that's what I really, I don't want to go. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I wanted to go. I mean, I had near-death experience. I'm like, I'm not going back.
Right.
And the angels tell me, you got to go back. I'm like, no, I don't want to go back. But you know what I find so amazing now is
we came in for this.
Yeah. And the appreciation that I have for the human experience, because, and I say the human is the hero. The human is doing the work. And somehow or another, in some colossal cosmic way, we are integrating physical and non-physical, and I personally don't think it's been done. I think this is one heck of a mission, and I think I'm with you and so many others in 2019. This is it.
This is
stories, labels, everything. We don't need to learn anymore. We don't need to activate anything.
No, this is the greater work. This is the greater work. We're taking our own creation of the physical body with us into the light without death.
Yeah. Yeah, without combusting in the chair.
Right. Right.
I mean, I have no doubt whatsoever that we will turn a corner and see and be in a shared, whatever that looks like, physicality / non-physicality, with those that we say to have transitioned. You know.
Yes. And Grace gave us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grace gave us a window into what we're doing. And I've known this since I was 17. I was told that there will be a day where you will be seen for the truth of who you are. And all those who have come against you will come before you and ask for forgiveness. We have to remember that some of us came in never having had the human experience. And so we came in to learn about the human condition in order to help those who have been asleep for a long time to remember who they are. And so we're at that moment where we are going to show them. Yeah. And Grace very clearly gave us an example of what that looks like. And for me, that was such a joyous moment, because it's like, yeah, that's what I know is coming.
Are you talking about that show?
Yes.
Oh my God. And for those of you who don't know, Grace Solaris, I talked to her last week. She's going to come on in a couple of weeks. Her mom transitioned on February 18th. Yeah. Healing, peace, love, and comfort to Grace and her family. But the it's the first show. I think there's been 3 shows with Grace. And I would say this show was, I want to say probably late summer of 2017. Grace almost transcends before your eyes on camera in the last, 10 minutes, last 10 minutes of the show. And it's not sometime a camera, thing. It's nothing. It is a straight up.
The rainbow light coming in, the frequencies. Yeah. And you could hear the realm coming through as well.
And that's not the only one. We've had many 900 episodes almost now, but we've had probably there's had to been, I mean, with that type of what do you want to call it, digital garble or whatever, you know what I mean? And you're saying, oh, that's this. No, we've had that happen probably 25, 30 times.
It's where the flesh disappears and the truth of who you are is shown, is revealed. And I've had that happen off and on over the years, where I've walked into rooms and it always took me by surprise, in a sense that people would see it and they would comment, and I'd like, why are you crying? Like, what are you seeing? Yeah. And they, I'd walk into the room as a ball of light and they thought I was an angel. And I think it's just when we walk into that place of heart space, we return to the truth of who we are.
Yeah. And I think too, it's funny too, doing these shows, because I make a joke now that any of the shows, I'm surprised we didn't have a problem. these shows have like technical glitches. Like I'll see people actually transform, and I have to go back and watch the show, and it's not happening, but I'm seeing it, right? And
Yes.
and so now I got this. I have a direct Ethernet cord, so I'm not on wireless. I run this 75-foot cord, so I have direct Ethernet.
Yep.
And the strangest thing, like yesterday, Morgan and I did an impromptu show, and I got knocked off with the direct Ethernet cord, and the wireless is working and the Ethernet, so, and it used to be people would say, oh, the dark energy is trying to hold you down. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just our energy is
it's like years ago when I used to work on computers. I malfunction computers all the time. If there was a glitch or a program problem in the computer, it always happened at my desk. Draining the batteries on our phones and things like that. When we just let that which we are come out, it's just it's power. We are powerful. We are powerful beyond measure. We are afraid of our own magnificence. Marianne Williamson coined that really well, right?
No.
So the more of us that come out and play, the more courage people have.
That's it.
To go within and say, yeah, they're talking about what I already know, and you know what? I'm gonna take the step towards this. I'm gonna accept it, which is key. I accept that I am more than this physical body.
And that is going back to something you said earlier, because even if you're in the old or trying to break away, and this is again for people waking up, and you're in that 3D and you're trying to break away, and you were talking about, people telling you don't sell the house or why are you doing that? And it's the same way here. Yeah. It's the same way in these light worker circles, because what you're talking about is a very personal thing. Nobody can do it for you. It doesn't matter if you tell 1 million people or nobody. In fact, it's probably better if you tell nobody and you just go into that space. A lot like what you just took me through. It's very similar to that.
Me, Todd, I'm one of these people, like a kid in a candy store. If I have had an experience, I want to tell somebody about it, because then they can have it too. So you can imagine in the early years when I would share those kinds of experiences with people. Yeah.
You're lucky.
I'm according to some people, I'm schizophrenic, I'm bipolar, and I'm mentally ill, right? And none of those things are true. It is just their fear speaking about what they cannot understand. And I also want to mention to people too is that we have lived in an environment of lack, and I know many people of light, have walked away from things and leave themselves in a position where they are striving for abundance. And what I want to say is that you can materialize what you need when you know that abundance is you. Yeah. And you play with it. And how it was told to me I was asked, what do you want in your bank account balance? And at that time I thought $1,000 would bring me comfort. I'd like to see $1,000. Within a matter of days, $1,000 was in my bank account, and maintained that. And then I heard, would you like to go higher? How about 3,000? And so I said, yeah, let's play with 3,000. And within a matter of days, 3,000 was there. And I kept playing with these numbers, and it almost got ridiculous because I got it up to 17,000. And then I went, okay, I really, I didn't have a purpose for that extra money. And so it's like, so I'm comfortable with $5,000 in my bank account. But the point is that we can do this. Yeah. You see it into existence. You call forth what is not as though it is, because it's already there waiting for you. You just have to see it into existence.
Yeah, that's right. Beautiful.
Poverty mentality goes back to the days of the church, right?
Yeah.
And those paradigms, those vows, those, even today, I was challenged by the guidance that I get. Will you surrender that you're even in service to humanity? Will you surrender that you are a healer? Will you surrender that you must be the one to show the way? Will you surrender all of those things that you have defined yourself in, knowingly or unknowingly? Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, I can be no name brand. It doesn't, that I have no attachment. Anything that would hold me to the past, anything that would hold me to limitation as defined by gods that created not knowing who they are, I can let that go, because I want to see what's coming. And what it shall be something we've never seen before.
Yeah. And that's a good reminder for many people that have been receiving for years, not to it's no different, the importance of detaching from the stories behind us, as the labels that we might give ourselves from the divine episodes or communions or faces of the universe that we might have a certain you feel that it's unique to us or something. Well,
there's also there's universal laws and universal keys that are ours, that we're going to learn how to operate in, how to be what we are under those things that have been shown us, that we all know internally. We're returning to those as well. And, I speak to you as you. Let all that is come to you in fullness now. Be the open and receiving one who is worthy of everything that you ever wanted, imagined, or dreamed of. I see it for you and I call it forth. And so it is.
So it is. Yeah.
We need to dream for each other. Yeah, what is your dream? Let me dream it with you. Right? Because where two or more are gathered in the energies, expansion occurs.
This is the dream.
It is the dream.
This is it.
You're a pretty good looking dream, right?
I got the best job in the world, man. In the universe.
We also get to recreate our bodies too, because in every cell there's a divine template.
Absolutely.
The original creation.
It's just like those pieces that you were talking about, the soul signature, the energy signature, and each one of us a piece of that big, cosmic jigsaw puzzle. But inside of us, it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing.
Well, a few years ago, I heard inside of you are these divine templates, and all templates of all existence are already in you. And years of old, people lived to be 1,000 years old. And so I was asked, how old do you want to be? And I said, oh, like a fountain of youth. And they said, yes. I said, okay, well, I'd like to head in the direction of 38. A lot of people think that I'm in my early 40s. And I like that. I think it's fun. Right?
Yeah.
So, play and see what you can create.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror and look at what's looking back at you. Look in other people's eyes and look at who's looking at you. And speak to that one that's looking at you. That's the light that dwells within. And say hello, spirit to spirit. The other thing that I've learned, and I've taught many people that I've worked with, is that we argue with mind to mind, with each other, with doctrines, with belief systems. And when you have an issue with another, it is far more powerful for you to go spirit to spirit. And ask that essence, that spirit that dwells in that physical body that's been created, because we are E equals MC squared. We are energy in motion, and we created our bodies. You ask the energy that exists inside that form it created to communicate to that mind that it created the truth. Yeah. And then watch and see what happens. It's much more powerful.
Yeah.
Bypass the human mind, go spirit to spirit.
I agree. Totally agree. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed chatting with you. I feel like
we'll have to do it again sometime.
I would love that very much.
Yeah, this is a
Thank you.
Very, very. Oh, I still have one more show. It's a great way to end the day, but
you want to run it over?
I'm going to go like relax and like just see seep in this vibration. But yeah, I'll carry it to the next one. That's what we do, right?
Yeah, just carry the stream forward, right?
Go.
Let's all jump on this tsunami wave together.
Let's right.
Go for the ride.
Well, thank you so much for sharing space with us, honoring us with your presence. I look forward to collaborating with you again in the future.
That'll be lovely.
We're moving to an automated scheduling system, which will come out April 1st. So it won't be so difficult to line people up. So, but we'll be reaching out to you as we get into this a little bit. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed it. Very powerful hour. The hour of power. Thank you so much.
Fun. Okay.